Hi everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to replace this cracked iPhone screen. It's actually the iPhone of my nephew. Too bad it fell. It got a cracked screen, and I got the replacement right here, which has the new digitizer and the LCD screen, both of them. So we're going to replace the whole unit. So yeah, let's get started. And at the bottom you have two small Torx screws. We're going to remove those two. And as I'm doing this, the iPhone powers itself on, so we're just going to power it off again. Remove these screws, those two at the bottom. Also keep track of the screws you remove, and this entire process. It will be a lot easier when reassembling the device. So just going to power it back off. Yes, the shattering is so severe, actually the glass came loose, so you could harm yourself this way. So they put a hardened screen protector on there. We're going to remove the whole assembly, so this may be even a little bit easier to remove, because my suction cup will get better suction this way. So we're going to place the suction cup on here. We're going to pull until we have a small opening at the bottom, and we'll get my spudger in there. Yes, there we have it. And then we take the plastic spudger, because we don't want to damage the phone anymore, so just get around the edges very gently. Should all go very easy. The newer iPhones are glued in, this one isn't. Take the SIM card tray out, maybe better, just in case. And the assembly should come loose by itself, so you don't need to force it out of there. And then you can just easily, yes, take my suction cup off. And as you can see, the assembly on itself is loose, so we just fold it back, not too far, because the cables, as you can see here, the cables are still attached and we don't want to snap off any cables. The first thing we're going to do, because we are going to work on the electronics of the device, is disconnect the battery. So I will get the right screwdriver here. It's a very big screwdriver for such a small phone. And we're going to loosen up these two screws, which are holding the battery bracket. So once these have been removed, you can take the metal plate, remove it, and then here you will see the cable on which the battery is connected to the logic board, and we're going to disconnect that one. Yes, also not much force required, and the battery is loose. So we don't short circuit anything. And now we're going to remove these 4 screws, which are holding the protection plate, whatever you want to call it, of the cables of the LCD screen. Also make sure to keep track of the screws you remove. Most of them are all different lengths. With this one, only one screw is a different length. I believe it's this screw here, and this is the last screw. Yes. and also remove this bracket. So we're going to disconnect these cables from the logic board, starting with this one. That's one. Then this one. That's two. Do not apply too much pressure. You could damage things. You don't want that. And this will be the last one. And with this, you have disconnected the whole display assembly. Gonna move this aside because we need to put some of these components over to the new display assembly. One is the home button, and also the earpiece, the front facing camera, and the back plate. So now we're going to test our new digitizer assembly. First we just connect the two cables to see if this works as it should. One is for the LCD screen and one is for the digitizer. Because it would not be a good thing if something didn't work and we did all the work for nothing. So we're just going to connect these two cables. Can be a little bit tricky to connect them. Do not apply too much pressure because you will damage the connector. Of course, we're going to reattach the battery for now. Otherwise we won't have power. We're going to power the device on. And we just let it boot. Yes, okay. And also the digitizer seems to function as it should. So we're going to power off the device. Again. Yes. Of course, first disconnect the battery. Yes. Then disconnect the first cable. And the second one. Okay, we move this aside. First we need the old LCD screen. And we're going to swap over the earpiece, the front facing camera. So we loosen up these two screws at the top. That's one. And the other one, of course. Also different lengths, so keep good track of them. Then we have two, how should we call it? Retention pieces. Yes, there it is. So we're letting loose. Keep good track. One is here and the other one is right here. You don't want to damage that, you need it to reassemble it. And now we remove the earpiece. Now we can see the front facing camera and we're going to remove that. We need a spudger, a small one, and you need to pry off this cable here. Not too much force because you will damage it. Of course these parts are rather inexpensive, but it's a shame if something goes broken if it doesn't need to. So very carefully just work your way around there. Underneath, little by little, it will come loose. Yes, and there you have your front-facing camera. You can leave it on here. This end is attached to the back plate of your LCD screen, so we're going to leave it right on there. No need to take it off. And then also you can loosen up this one. So that's it. The next thing we're going to do is unscrew these couple of screws which are holding the LCD bracket in place. So we take the whole thing off as one piece. So unscrew the screws, you see that? It's 4 of them. We also need to remove this screw here. It's a larger one. Okay, with this screw out of the way, there's another one at the top. Also going to remove this one. Yes. And with all those 6 screws out of the way, so 2 on each side, 1 at the bottom with the home button assembly, and 1 on top. If you remove those 6, you can carefully take the back plate off. And there you have the back plate still with the front facing camera attached. Next thing we want to do is undo the screws which hold the home button in place. It's an iPhone 5C, so it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner in it. Undo these 2 screws. And that's one. And the other one. Yes. And then you have also a small cable attached, which is very tiny. It runs right through here. So if you put force on this, you definitely will rupture the cable, and you need a new home button for this one. So be very careful with this. You could apply some heat to loosen up the adhesive under there. Definitely don't try this if you're in a hurry, because you will break things very easy. All the way. And there we have our home button. And now you can just push this one out. And this is all we need for our new digitizer. And we're just going to put it back together. Of course, we start with the last thing we took out, and that's the home button. A little bit of cleaning here. Yes. Just get it in there. And then the home button itself goes back in place. Yes. Once it's in place, you can put the 2 screws which were holding the home button, screw them back in. Those 2, yes. So we now should have a working home button, and it is. Nice. Then we go back to the top. First we take the plastic off. Don't want to leave that in there. Yeah. We're going to reinstall the back plate with the camera module still on it. Align it. Make sure not to apply too much pressure, because sometimes these things can get bent. You can put the screws back in. That's one on top. The other one goes in the bottom. and 2 on each side. And the last 2 go on the other side. And the last one okay. Now we can fold back the front facing camera. Only fits one way, so don't force it. Make sure it sits correctly in there. Apply a little bit of pressure so the last bit of adhesive, what's still on there, will do the rest. Next, the earpiece goes back in. Yes. And then the bracket goes on top of that, and we'll hold it together. And this is a little bit tricky. It must go under the cables instead of on top of it. It's a tricky part. Yes. Nice. And now these 2 screws go back in place. You have a larger one and a shorter one. A long and a short screw. The shorter one goes in here. And the larger one goes on top. Like this. So that's the assembly. Everything should be working now, so now we're getting back the iPhone itself. And we're going to reattach this assembly. First we start with this cable, then this one, and then this one. Very gently. You will hear a click once it's properly connected. So don't smash it in there. Now again, we're first going to test it before putting the device all together. Just power it on. So we already can tell the screen is working. It's a very nice effect. It goes infinite. Yes. So yeah, that is working. The home button isn't because those 2 connectors will make contact with the contact points on the home button are right here. So for that we need to actually do the rest of the assembly. But the touchscreen is working, and that's cool. We'll now test the camera. Also working. Yeah. It's me. Yes. Okay. So now we power the device off again. Okay. Disconnect the battery for the last time. Like this. Yes. And we're going to put the metal bracket back in place, which are holding the... At some point you wish you had more hands, but start with the one in the corner. Yes. And then this one. then this one, and the last one. Yes. Then reconnect the battery. Get the battery bracket. Can get a hold of it. Well, we'll just do it with the fingers then. Okay. Also, put the screws back in this one. And this screw. Yes. And once you're done, you can scoop the screen right back in. Very gently. Little bit of pressure, not too much. Then the last two screws go, of course, in the bottom, and the other one. Very cool. Then we put in the SIM card tray with SIM card. Power on your device. The brightness is fine, but okay. Yeah, let's test the camera. Of course, the front-facing cam is what we want. Yeah, it's me again. Hi. Yeah, hi. Okay, there's the camera. Also home button working fine. Let's get off this. Maybe I will leave this on. He can pull it off himself. Will not help him, of course, avoiding a cracked screen in the near future, or in the future that is, but yeah. So, this is what I do on Sundays if I have nothing better to do. So yeah, as you can see, it's working like new, brand new. I will leave it at this. If you have any comments, suggestions, maybe some advice, please leave it at the comment section. If you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe. Thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.